What is up, everybody? Today is Wednesday, September 10th. All right, we don't got any football today, but tomorrow we got Packers, Commanders to look forward to. A little bit of action before the weekend. Hopefully, got some good college games going on. Okay, but today I want to talk about a couple quarterbacks. All right, mainly Trevor Lawrence, but I think the same idea kind of applies to Caleb Williams and Drake May as well. And it has to do with their head coaches. So, all three of those teams, the Jags, the Patriots, and the Bears, all have new head coaches. So, Vrabel obviously is an established head coach with the Titans, had success with Tannehill. I don't think his job in terms of being able to get hired as a head coach in the NFL is in jeopardy, even if this year were to be disappointing for the Patriots. I think a lot of people have the Patriots being a competitive winning team this year. And so far in week one, it wasn't what you wanted to see as a Patriots fan, and probably not if you're on the team either. So similarly with the Bears, I think with Ben Johnson, even though he's not an established head coach, because of how much success Detroit has had the last 2 years, he's been there three, but mainly 22 or 23 and 24 were highly successful offensive years for the Lions. I think even if things weren't to go well in Chicago, Ben Johnson would probably get another opportunity as a head coach. Almost definitely would have another place to go as an OC. And then you go to the Jags with Liam Cohen. I think that situation is a little bit different than the other two coaches because this is his first opportunity as a head coach. I know that's the same with Ben Johnson, but in the offseason hiring, I think his name kind of got overshadowed a little bit by Ben Johnson. And inside the NFL, it probably doesn't matter what names get put out more, right? This is just from an outside perspective. But if I was Liam Cohen, I would be worried that if things don't go well in Jacksonville, that this is one of the only opportunities that you'll get as an NFL head coach, right? And because of that, he's on a clock. He doesn't have 4 years to rebuild a team of guys that he hand selects and hope that the owner gives him some time. The Jags are a team that hasn't had a lot of franchise success. They had the nice playoff win a couple years ago with Trevor, but overall, this is a team and a franchise that would love to see some success and feel like there's hope as a real contender. Um, and Trevor's career has been very up and down. It's been weird. I think a lot of people cut him some slack for the first year with Urban Meyer. It's a weird situation. It was pretty much a disaster to be in as a first year rookie quarterback, first overall pick. He also didn't have a whole lot of weapons around him. So like I said, a lot of people wrote off that first year. And then we had 2022. Doug Peterson comes in. They make the playoffs, have the great comeback against the Chargers, and things seem to be in a lot better of a direction. And people saw year one as a fluke, and that year two was what we'd continue to see. And if Trevor continued to go up from his year two ability, he'd be a top 10, maybe top 5 quarterback in the league. And 2023, things started off hot. They went I think they started 8-3, and then went to Cincinnati. I think was the game. Might have been one before that they lost, but Cincinnati. Trevor had the ankle injury, and this was a bad looking injury. Watching the game, he couldn't put any pressure on it. He couldn't put any weight on it to get off the field. And when I saw that, I figured he was out for the season because even if it's just a bad ankle sprain, that's 3-4 weeks minimum. So, maybe he'd come back for the last couple weeks, but if you're not in a winning situation, you never know. They ended up losing every single game for the rest of the year, and Trevor ended up still playing in those games, looking poor, right? And then last year, coming off the disappointing end of 23, it starts off the same. They go 0-4 to start the season and end up 2-7. That's when Trevor gets the shoulder injury. Mac Jones comes in. They end the year not great, right? Doug Peterson's gone. Liam Cohen's in. So now Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence are paired up together. And the idea behind these guys is that these coaches did not choose these quarterbacks. This is a different situation than Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy, where he had a say in selecting this guy, or Sean Payton and Bo Nix, where he had a say in selecting this guy. And as a coach with Kevin and Sean, they look at these guys, these quarterbacks they have, and have a little bit more of a leash on if they're not successful, it's a little bit on me, and I'm not going to feel like I need to prioritize my own occupation. I need to keep my job. This guy's not it, right? That's not something that you're going to see happen from coaches very often that have a say in selecting their guy, unless things just go off a cliff, right? But with Trevor, and you can kind of say the same things with Caleb and Drake, even though it is still pretty early, only year two. Liam Cohen and Trevor do not have any connection in terms of having a say of who drafted him. And because of this, and especially because Liam Cohen could only get this opportunity as a head coach, it's in his best interest to succeed and succeed quickly, right? Like I said, I don't think Liam Cohen has a 4-year window like Brian Daboll somehow has with New York to turn things around and show that he can get it done. Now, because of this, I think that if Trevor does not have his peak season, if it doesn't look like he's back on an upward trajectory, then I'm not going to be that surprised if internally, at least, Liam Cohen is like, I need a different quarterback. And I don't think it's that easy to just figure out how to get a different quarterback, especially with the contract situation with Trevor. He got paid, he's got the big contract, 5-year extension. So things would have to go pretty poorly. And it's like, what team out there would trade for him? It's not an easy, straightforward situation if things were to go downhill, right? But what we saw from game one, at least from Trevor, did not look how you would want it to look if you were hoping that this is going to be his peak season and continue on that year two upward trajectory. I know it's hard and it feels weird to reference his year two when he's going into year five, but you do have to look at year three. He did start 8-3 until the ankle injury, and then I think year four last year is really what's glaring, because I think a lot of people anticipated a bounce back from the tough ending of 23 and to be a competitive team, and that's not what they were last year. They were not competitive. That's why Doug Peterson's gone, and Liam Cohen cannot have the same results as they did last year if he wants to keep his job for more than 2 years and also get a chance at being a head coach somewhere else if things weren't to work out in Jacksonville. So basically, the idea is that I wouldn't be surprised if things get weird and uncomfortable in Jacksonville if Trevor has the same inconsistencies that he's had throughout his season, throughout his whole career, really. And now it is only week one. It could be an overreaction. Hopefully, it's an overreaction because I don't think I would consider myself a Trevor Lawrence fan, but I liked his game at Clemson. I thought he was a nice dual threat guy, tough to play against, had it all as a prospect. And I figured he would succeed and almost be an automatic top 10 guy. Um, Almost similar to how people felt about Caleb Williams, but probably not that high of a projection, not that much hype coming out. But he was a great college quarterback, a very winning college quarterback. So I felt like there's no doubt that so far his career has been a disappointment. And at the end of the day, Liam Cohen's got to look out for himself, right? Financially, he'll probably be fine. You know, now that he's a head coach, it's not like a money thing, really. But as a coach, you don't want to feel like your reputation is being tainted because of the quarterback that you're stuck with that you didn't have any choice in selecting on your team. Now, comparing this situation to Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and Drake May and Mike Vrabel, it is a little different, and those guys are much earlier in their career. And I think those coaches have a bigger leash. Um, I think no matter what, it's safe to say that Caleb at least has two years before they can be fully out on him. I think it would be an injustice to drafting a guy number one overall if you're going to be out on him a year and a half, 2 years in. And Mike Vrabel, like I said earlier, is an established head coach. So I think in New England, Drake May probably has to be more worried for himself than Mike Vrabel would be because he also is an expatriate, has ties to the organization in Vrabel, and had a lot of previous success as a head coach. The Tennessee Titans were the 1 seed one year until the Chiefs came and busted them down. All right, but that's not the topic today. So I think these three situations are ones to look out for, especially the Jags. And I think the Patriots in a way too, because of how much we haven't seen from Drake May. He only played, I think, 10 games last year. So this year is going to be a lot more of I think, lot more of a takeaway from what you can expect from Drake May in a full season with more of an established coaching staff with him. But overall, I don't think you should be too surprised if one of the three of these teams in the next 2 years is moving on from their quarterback. And I wouldn't even blame them too much because, especially in the Jag situation, Liam Cohen's gotta look out for his own career. And they don't have any ties. They don't have any ties to him. It's similar to what happened with Justin Fields in Chicago. They didn't have any ties to him, and now Justin Fields did not have a lot of success in Chicago. It was tough. Those were some tough seasons for him. And I watched a decent amount of Chicago Bears games with Justin Fields, and I can't blame him for making that choice either to move on. And maybe he'll look good with the Jets. He looked good in the games that he started with the Steelers last year, won him some games early. But I don't blame head coaches for feeling like at some point they have to look out for themselves and get a quarterback that they feel like they believe in, right? Because it may not even be that Liam Cohen looks at Trevor Lawrence as someone that shouldn't be a starting quarterback in the league. I think he for sure should be a quarterback in this league, but it's the idea of actually having the belief in that person. I think it would be a weird situation as a quarterback to, or as a head coach, excuse me, to look at your quarterback and prefer someone else. And I wouldn't be surprised if those three head coaches are in that situation this year. And if I were a head coach in that situation, I wouldn't want it to stay like that for too long. So that's mainly about Trevor. That's been on my mind lately after watching the Week 1 game, especially since they came away with the win. I think that clouds it a little more of how poor of a performance he gave eye test wise. Um, his biggest attempt of a throw in the game was to Travis Hunter on the ball that got intercepted. And other than that, he had a couple nice throws over the middle, one to De'Ami Brown, I think. So, got to see more from Trevor specifically. I think Drake and Caleb, like I said, they've got more time. But I think if this year isn't the absolute peak year from Trevor Lawrence, things might get ugly in Jacksonville.